And just these rush of stories started to happen. And the first one was Outdoor School, about being homeless, dealing with it, and fleeing from him. So, yeah, enjoy.
Please welcome to the stage, Vin Chambry.
When I was a kid, I never cried. I never had time to. I was always put in adult situations. Like the time when I was 12, my mother abruptly woke us up in the middle of the night, tears streaming down her face, her mouth filled with blood from being punched repeatedly. We knew that it was time to flee from him. And from that day on, we were homeless and on the streets. But I was the man in charge. My 4-year-old sister and I would wait down the street in a park while my mother would scope out the shelters. But those places always had social workers and police at those places, which meant we might get taken away from her. So most of the time, we'd sleep under a tree in a park. Living under trees was only hard for the first couple of weeks. I mean, it was early fall, so it wasn't too cold yet. And at that time of year, all we really needed was a layer of cardboard underneath us, a blanket we all shared, and plastic on top of it. And we had a routine all worked out. Showers at the local swimming pool, free breakfast at school. Then we'd walk around with the shopping cart until dark. And we knew exactly when the police would patrol the parks, and when they were done with their rounds, we could safely crawl into the tree without being seen. It was all right. Until we found the tree, this beautiful 50-foot pine tree. Once you settle yourself in near the trunk, you are immediately hidden by its branches. The tree itself becomes a wonderland of a home. The dirt is smoothed over by all the Portland rain. It felt good, good enough to relax a little and sometimes sleep. I lay back and look up through the branches of this tree that I call home. I look at my mom and sister, amazed at how peaceful they can sleep here. Not a care in the world when their eyes are closed. I admired it, imagining how wonderful their dreams must be. But me, I had to protect them no matter what. As the only man in the tree, it's my duty. So I never dreamed. But tonight, when I watch over them, I think about with mixed emotions what I'm about to embark on next week with all of the Portland Public School sixth graders. Outdoor school. A 5-day environmental school at a sleepaway camp in the forest. We've been hearing about it since kindergarten. No classrooms, just outdoor learning around fires and s'mores for a whole week. But best of all, I get to have my own bed with clean sheets and a pillow. The day I leave for outdoor school is hard on me. I tell my mom, now look, if you're gonna walk me to the bus, you have got to leave our shopping cart with all of our stuff behind the market so nobody sees us. She agreed, and my little sisters hold my backpack, which is as big as she is. She's always trying to help. I give my mom and sister a big hug, and I hop on the bus. The conversation on the bus with the other sixth graders is around who will be the first to cry of homesickness. And they say that at the end, everybody cries because you're so sad that it's over. Cry? What for? This is an opportunity of a lifetime. A bed for a week, clean sheets, hot food at every meal, nothing to cry about here. We get there, and we are bombarded by cool 16-year-old counselors who actually wanted to hang out with us. They had been waiting here. They gave us a necklace made out of a slice of a tree trunk with our names on it. And we all had the opportunity to run and jump in the river if we wanted to. What? I mean, I really wanted to. All the kids just ran and did it without even worrying about their clothes. I only had 2 pairs of pants and 2 pairs of underwear and no quarters for the laundromat. Matter of fact, I don't even know if they had a laundromat. So I went to the counselor and I asked him. He told me that they would wash and dry my clothes for me, and I didn't have to worry about it, and it was okay to run and jump in the river. I felt taken care of. At outdoor school, I didn't have a care in the world. As the week goes on, I forgot about my family and the struggles we face. I forgot about the struggles they're probably facing right now. I like not thinking about how hard everything is. For the first moment in my life, I felt like a kid. The high point of outdoor school was the competitive game of tug of war. Now, 10 of us would represent our school to push as hard as we can against the other rival middle schools. I knew that this was my opportunity. The teacher came up to us and said, all right, kids, raise your hand if you want to go on the front line and push as hard as you can. Nobody raised their hand, so I did. She came up to me and she said, go ahead, you can push as hard as you can. I approached the tape to get ready to walk in and take my position. I looked down at my shoes. These are my only pair of shoes, and they're actually Nikes, which gives me just enough credibility at school so the kids don't know I'm homeless. And now they're gonna get really dirty and I'm gonna have to wear them home like that. No, you don't get it. They're patent leather, white and red Deion Sanders Nikes that I got as a gift from a girl at school whose dad worked for Nike. And I know that next week the kids are gonna see my dirty shoes and know that my family has no money. But this opportunity is too great for me to worry about adult things like trying to find a place to wash and dry my shoes. I don't hesitate for long. I grab that rope in my hands. My feet begin to sink in the mud, giving me the proper leverage I need to pull for my team. Before the whistle blows, I look in the eyes of the rival school, and they're taunting me, saying that I'm not strong enough and blowing kisses at me. I tilt my head up to the sky, and I thank whoever gave me this gift to just be a kid. The whistle blows, I pull with all my might for my team. I hear grunting and screaming, and suddenly it's over, and we won. All the kids are running towards me, picking me up in the air, telling me that I was strong, that I belonged, that I was strong. The last night of outdoor school, we sat around listening to counselors tell stories like they do. And one story I will never forget is a story long ago about how all the animals seek shelter from the worst of the storm. Some of them went into the cliffs, and some of them went into the caves. But in the end, the mice were left with nowhere to go. So what they did is they seeked shelter in the mighty pine trees. Until this day, if you look at a pine cone, you can still see what looks like their tails sticking out from the bottom. Hearing that story, I started to cry. At this point, I can tell that all the kids have noticed that I'm crying and they're all whispering, but in that moment, I do not care. I am too overwhelmed with emotion to be embarrassed. I look around at this wonderful place and my new friends, but I can't help think that I've deserted my family in archery. I deserted them this whole time and I just realized it. My tears were coming from a place of gratitude from this awesome week, but from the realization that my family needs me. And I'm the man in charge. I'm supposed to push the shopping cart with all our stuff. I'm supposed to find the cardboard for us to sleep on. I'm supposed to protect my mom and sister. There's a storm coming and I wasn't there to stay awake. But for 5 whole days, I got to be a kid. They said at the end of outdoor school, everybody cries. And in the end, I did too. Thank you.
Vin Chambry.
So our next incredible artist is Charles Grant. And as we mentioned, Charles is an actor. He did an internship with Portland Playhouse. I met him when he was in the Vortex musical that I did. He's a fabulous singer, amazing actor, wonderful writer and storyteller. And so we'll just turn it over to him.
Thanks, Sue. Thanks, everybody. Hi, my name is Charles Grant. I use he, him pronouns. I'm so glad to be here. Yeah, I feel the more and more that I move through this life, I start to claim the title of storyteller. So, I mean, I think of Vin and Josie as that because I feel like they wear so many hats. And so number one, it's an honor to be like on the same poster as them. But yeah, whenever the genesis for this piece, it's called Matter. First happened in 2017 in the spring. As a part of the internship that Sue was talking about, I worked for 10 months with Portland Playhouse, which is a theater company in Northeast Portland. And at the end of our apprenticeship, we do a solo show. So every week we would get prompts. One of them was like someone you admire, someone from history that you wish you could like have lunch with, on and on and on and on. And I kept finding that each week, this idea of gun violence was coming up. And I kept trying to run away from it and being like, I don't want to write that. I don't want to make a show about that. I want to do something fun and funny and lighthearted. And it just kept coming again and again and again. And so ultimately it resulted in this piece. And the version we're going to watch tonight is a remount of that from 2017. Jessica Wallenfels from Many Hats Collaboration. She reached out to me back in June, you know, when everything happened with George Floyd and news was surfacing about Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, all of these different people. And she was like, hey, I remember your show from 2017. What do you think about remounting it? And the first thing I said was like, nah, no. Like just thinking back to how I felt in June, making a piece of theater was the last thing on my mind. I was just trying to survive every day. I was just trying to check on myself, check on my people, on and on and on. And at the end of the day, this phrase that a friend of mine said, there are many lanes to the revolution, kept coming in my head, right? And so for some people, you might be out in the streets protesting. For some people, maybe you're making meals and water for people who are out in the streets, right? Maybe you're organizing. And for me, I was like, oh my gosh, I am an artist. I am a storyteller. And at the end of the day, I have all these questions. Like, why does this keep happening? Why am I doing this piece again in 2020 when I already did it in 2017? So this piece is my attempt at trying to find answers to that. So I'll just sort of pause there and hopefully the rest of it will speak for itself. Thank you.
The Black Lives Matter movement has done so much to help America see the inequity in our country. Black Lives Matter is about violence. Let's really get into respect. Whether someone has a criminal record, Black Lives Matter doesn't make it okay for you to lie about unarmed black individuals, let alone that. All lives can matter. Black lives.
I am obsessed with guns. I think about them all the time. I think about their shape. I think about the sounds they make. I think about being killed by a gun. I think about how the bullet might feel as it pierces through my body. Maybe while I'm walking down the street, maybe in the grocery store, maybe right here, right now. Maybe on accident, but more likely on purpose. It feels like every moment of my life is a countdown to my inevitable end by bullet. I'm just waiting. I've been on a search for some time now, reading headline after headline, trying to find a pattern, trying to find a reason, trying to find something, anything to make sense of all this. And this search has not led to an answer, but more questions. Matter, definition. Matter is anything that has mass or takes up space. For example, a proton, an atom, a cat, a tree, me. An affair or situation under consideration, a topic. For example, why are there so many acts of violence against Black bodies in the United States of America? The reason for distress or a problem. For example, what's the matter? Well, every day I am reminded of how this country treats Black people, so I fear for my actual life, and I'm stressed the fuck out. That's the matter. To be of importance, have significance. For example, Black lives matter.
Now, you're here representing the Black Lives Matter movement. What would you say to those who say you all are a part of the problem? The Black Lives Matter movement has done so much to help America see the inequities in our country's criminal justice system. And let's really get into it. Whether someone has a criminal record or not, it doesn't make it okay to shoot an unarmed Black person once, let alone multiple times. That is unacceptable. All lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
Breonna Taylor, 26. Ahmaud Arbery, 25. Elijah McLean, 23. Stephon Clark, 22. Michael Brown, 18. Tamir Rice, 12. I thank God every day that somehow I made it to 26. So many of us never get the chance to make it that far. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
The Black Lives Matter movement is a divisive black supremacist group whose only goal is to destroy our country. And let's talk about the absolute disrespect these thugs show the police, who wake up every day and put their lives on the line to protect and serve. It is unacceptable.
If you can aim a gun at somebody minding their own damn business, what else are you capable of?
The Black Lives Matter movement. The Black Lives Matter movement help America fight the inequity. You know whose lives matter? Everybody's lives matter. People will blame the victims if the blacks would stop behaving like we're not complying, and all lives can't matter. But we become black hackers when we get choked in respect or even in our own home. board like the police are meant to protect and serve like that means to apply the black
They can't do that if
demand
you
to
disrespect
respect and people will blame the victim police are meant to
black
protect and serve like
Enough already! I'm tired of seeing, hearing, feeling another Black life lost every damn day. You should stop trying to justify this shit. All Black lives matter. I just need a little more time to figure this out, to find a solution. There's got to be a way to stop. No!
Thank you so much, and again, people, it's like I'm just recovering here for a second after that piece. But if you have questions, comments, please put them in the chat. When we all get together at the end, we'll read some of those and take questions. So now I'm going to turn it over to the amazing and gorgeous and powerful Josie Seid to talk about her piece.
Hi, friends. Um, First, I just need to take a minute to let that wash over me. Um, Gosh, powerful, amazing. Both Charles and Vin, I stand in your shadow and I just stand in awe. So good. So the piece that you're about to see from me is called Forget Me Not America. It was something that that I started 19 years ago. That's a lie. When I was 19 years old. It's what I call a living poem. So way back then, a dear friend of mine who worked for a large organization finally got them to do a Black History Month program and wanted to create something that people could experience to understand the contributions of African Americans and Black Americans in this country. And if you listen to it, as you listen to it, you will hear maybe slivers of familiar stories. I intentionally didn't name anyone because my thoughts were, when these people did these things, when they set out to make these changes, they weren't trying to make history. They were just trying to make the world a better place. And any one of us could do that if we just put in that effort. So the last stanza of the poem was written actually just last year. As I went on through the years, and I'll probably continue to write this thing until I'm dead, as contributions are made within this country by prominent African and Black Americans, I will continue to add to this piece. Vin Chambry, that's with us today. I've named him the Smolder because he smolders. You will recognize his voice on this piece. And yeah, I just hope that that you get something from it.
Jen, is there any way we can get to full screen on the video? There's a little square, I think, on the YouTube, if there's a way to get to full screen.
That was full screen.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know what else to do about that, but yeah, that was full screen. And Josie's video is not full screen. It's doesn't have that capability, but just text me if you need me to move the screen up or down.
Forget me not, America. The contribution that I made was in the form of servitude. The guise I wore, a slave. It was my sweat that nourished this nation. My blood cultivated the land. I, too, helped build this country. In spite of chain-bound hands.
Forget me not, America. I'm a train that few could see. We traveled underground with the cover of night to a land where we could be free. Our music led the way to the station. We followed the drinking gourd to a place where our bonds were broken, as strengthened was our bond with our Lord. Forget me not, America. I stood up by maintaining my seat and took that fateful bus ride right into history. That started a chain reaction that spread across the land. Quiet strength, it seems, is sometimes the best way to make a stand.
Forget me not, America. With peace our battles were won. For who can deny him accepted by God's only begotten Son? And standing on the mountaintop, I saw victory close at hand. Even if not in my lifetime, we'd have our mule and 40 acres of land. Forgive me not, America. We warriors, brave and true, who fought and died for our country, protecting rights that we never knew, with hair as coarse as the buffalo and skin in the shades of the earth. We endured and believed that in due time you'd come to discover our worth. Forget me not, America. Though you refused to hear my voice, any creature cornered is forced to fight. You left me with no choice, then labeled me as militant because I demanded our rights to be freed. As you took the bonds from our hands and feet and put them on our equality. Forget me not, America. A new era has begun. I stand here because of your voices lifted and joined as one. The change we need is coming, and together, yes, we can. I take this country and return it to you, every woman, child, and man.
Forget me not, America. Your foundation is faulty at best. While your architects stand in defiance, the structure is failing the test. And while your country is crumbling, your eyes see, yet refuse to believe. The words etched on the stone of the rubble will be, had we just let them breathe. Forget me not, America. I am known as simply Faith, though the road we travel is uneven and long. The prize will be well worth the race. Our sisters' hope and grace will lead the way, with brother courage to lean upon. Soon freedom will reign, so that all will bow, and victory will finally be won.
Remember me, America.
Learn from the journey you've seen.
For how can you know where you're going if you don't know where you've been?
Thank you. Okay, so I think we're gonna just go move into a question and answer discussion. If the things you want to bring up, just thank you all. I just feel so honored to have you here and honored to have you share your stories with us. And I don't know if we want to start off. Well, I'll start off with a question. Maybe that'll start off a discussion, and then Jen, I don't know if you want to read some of the stuff that's in the chat. We can go from there.
Sure.
One of the things that we were talking about when we were putting this together is the whole notion of Black History Month, because you brought that up, Joey. And so often the whole thing is like, I think on some level, like Black History Month is important to celebrate Black history, but sometimes organizations have used it as like, well, we've done our due diligence, now we can just keep going on with this system that doesn't serve anybody, but we just did this thing. So talk to us about that, because we were talking about that, when we were putting out the poster, it was sort of like CCC and Black History Month, and so I kind of fought for that. No, this is Stories from America. We should be doing this every month. And so talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think I'll start out by just saying it's funny because I have, and feel free to just spread this around the world. I have coined February the 1st as the beginning of Blacknificent New Year. So it's all year. It's all year, right? I think February is the month that we celebrate and we get real live about it, but it's all year.
Yeah, it's really interesting to the feeling to be valued, usually mostly in February, is an interesting feeling. As an artist who I see myself not as a Black artist, I just see myself as an artist, but I'm always reminded in February, which is an interesting thing. So when I mean, don't get me wrong, I love doing work in February, but I make it a note saying that I'm just an artist who happens to be Black, that has amazing work, so that's how I always approach it. And also too, our culture is all year, like the way we are, the way we breathe, the way we, interpret music and live our life. So yeah, so thank you for letting us be here and, talk about who we are all the time.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot. I've been saying Black History Year all month long. And ain't it something funny that the shortest month of the year is Black History Month? I'll let you ponder on that one.
Can't nobody come outside. It's cold and it's short.
For real though. But I'm so appreciative of this space, because I think to me that's like one of the first steps is like when people ask like, what do we do? I'm like, give me the platform and get out of the way. And I love that this is called Stories from America, right? Because it's like, rather than me trying to tell you what it is, let me just come to the table and listen, right? And so I'm so grateful for this space to just share my voice and then sit down, right? Because that's the dialogue, right? So that those are just kind of my thoughts around that.
Absolutely. Jen, what do we have in the chat going on here?
Well, let's see. We have a lot of positive comments and amazing, powerful, very powerful and expressive. Tori is asking, I wonder what each of you do to recover when you're putting together and then performing these pieces, as some of these feel like difficult spaces to sit in for an extended period of time.
I can speak for myself. I realized this as an artist, that my trauma is actually healing me. So when I say it, and the perspective of when people see it, they hear it as horrific, and they hear, the violence, your mother. A lot of people ask me, where's your mom? Is she okay? My mom has always been okay. And even when she was getting beat, she would look at him and she'd say, you got more? And so there's perseverance in my family, there's legacy. And so, Yeah, so I think the thing is this is about healing. So when I write these things, and I've realized this actually as an actor, a lot of times people just wanted me to be the Black person in their show until I realized that my trauma is available to me to write, and I'm in charge of it. And I'm still cultivating that, but that to me is what makes me more dangerous because I'm starting to realize that.
Yeah, I think I'd have to say for me, that's why that poem is written a stanza at a time, you know, um, so that I can kind of get in it and get right back out as fast. I tend to be that person that'll honestly like hunker down and wait till the storm passes, and then come out and look around and breathe and take my time to gather my pieces of myself up, and put them back together. Um, so I just take my time, and as Jim mentioned at the beginning, I'm a singer. And I have been known to work on something and go in the next room, or, and put on those headphones and just
Mhm.
sing a minute, just, do a little old fashioned gospel moaning, to cleanse my soul.
Mhm.
So that's what I do. I know where the places in my heart, my mind, and my physical space are where I can rest and take that minute to recharge, and then I come back out.
Thank you, Josie.
Yeah, I mean, I relate to what both of y'all said. Vin, first about always being okay. Like the through line that I see in all three of our stories is this idea of resilience, right? Even through the pain, even through all of that, the pushing forward. Um, so I just wanted to respond to that. And then also what you're saying, Josie, like for me personally with this piece, Matter, um, it was so much about creating ritual. Like I knew going into it that it was not going to be fun. So number one, I had to make peace with that. But like, how did we start every rehearsal? We would start every rehearsal with like a dance party. So just like creating the space, and then ending every rehearsal with like a stretch and like a getting in touch. And for me, that was really important, so that no matter what happened in the middle of that, I could always count on the beginning and the end. Like I
Mm,
have this container. This is the thing that I
mm,
can control. So that was really important to me. And what you said too, Vin, about like you're in charge of it. Like even though this story is like hard to do, like there are some days where I'm just like showing up like I don't want to do this. I don't have it
mm,
in me. But
mm,
like it's that thing which I felt as an audience member watching and listening to both of your pieces too, is like, oh, I'm not alone.
mhm,
And there's something so powerful in like, I think that's what we do, knowing you, Josie and Vin, as artists, is like, that's part of the work.
mhm,
That's part of the work. So that
mhm,
someone else might see themselves reflected, so that someone else might get to like have
mhm,
that release.
mhm.
And so, yeah, that's part of the process for me.
Thank you. There are no more questions in the chat. However, I've changed the security, so you're now able to unmute yourself if you would like to ask a question on video or in the chat. It doesn't matter. Both options are available though.
And I can't see anybody except for the three of you on screen. Is that what everybody has? So if you ask a question, make sure you say who you are, because I think we can only see the three of you. Is that true for everybody?
If you change
If you click view, you can change it
Oh,
in the top right hand corner to gallery.
I should know that.
Gallery view, you should see it.
Okay.
There you go.
you should see the three of them and everybody else that way.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Or, you know.
Got
I
it.
see Tori has raised his hand, yeah?
Tori.
Thank you. Like, I guess first I just wanted to say thank you for presenting all that. Like, I'm going to be honest, I'm still waiting for my heartbeat to kind of come back down from, some of those videos. So definitely thank you for that piece. And I'm just wondering, because it sounds like for some of you, you've been doing this work for, more than a year. And I'm just wondering if some of the responses and some of the engagement and comments and things that you've gotten when you present, if that's changed over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, or, if you can speak to that.
Yeah, I'll speak from my perspective. Yeah, I did the piece. It was, I think, 5 years ago. And you know, yeah, it was like the first time where I wasn't an actor. So it was like the first time actually telling my truth.
Mm.
And I was okay with it. I was like, yeah, great. All these white people see it now. I'm good. I'm done. So I left, and then I started to get letters and
Mm.
notes, and there was like, and it was on the Moth podcast, and then I got like random people from like all over the world, like asking me, is my mom okay? Am I okay? And then I got like schools. There were like English programs, like young kids listening to it, and they kept sending me pictures of what my mom looked like and what the tree looked like. And this has been happening
Wow.
for almost 4 years. And now, which is amazing, uh, outdoor school is actually turning into a movie. And it's really
Mm.
exciting. It's like almost, I
That's
mean,
dope.
it's, I'm not gonna lie, it's like 2.5 in this piece. And it's about this little black boy from Portland who went to
Mm.
outdoor school. So to answer your question, I mean, like, I would never think that my poverty, my shame is now on the big screen. And it's, yeah. So I mean, yeah, so I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, and especially this piece, it's still pretty quiet. It's something that I didn't really put out there for a long time. I did it for my friend, many, many years ago. And then it was just, part of my portfolio, if you will, that I never showed anybody. And where I work now, I work for a nonprofit. And at some point they were doing, Black History Month. And they were like, does anybody have anything? I'm like, I got this poem.
Mm.
And that's kind of what started it, because it went out into the world once and it was pretty quiet, not a lot of response. Couple, people said something. And then when the civil unrest happened, they checked in and they reposted it. And then actually it was Artist Rep who reached out to me, and we're like, wow, I feel like, it was Sean Lee. I feel like the reason that this is not circulating is because not a lot of people are going to read a poem. Do you want to make it into something else? um and he was like, we will do whatever you want.
Mm.
And so that's when that happened. And now things are happening. It's moving a little bit. Some people have reached out on the DL. I had someplace in Marietta, Georgia. It's a museum, and they're erecting a statue that is honoring the unnamed enslaved people, and they are going to use a stanza from this poem on this statue. So that is, it's starting to move a little bit. Hmm.
And I wanted to, before Charles, if you had something to say, I wanted to add, Josie, from Tori, your piece literally feels like the culmination of synthesis of 1619 project.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to revisit that. It's funny. So that poem, the poem that I wrote, started, golly, it's been like 30 years. That's a 30-year-old. It started 30 years ago.
Mm.
So it's really interesting, right? Like, and it's not, I don't feel like it's any credit to me. It's just that I'm about to drop a word, y'all. I cuss, I've been holding back. But this shit has been happening,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not me. It's just like the waves in the sand.
Mm.
It's just like the surf is back. So it's a shame that it's still relevant.
Josie, that's actually a question I had for you, is like, you talking about your process going from it being a poem to like the visual, like, did you always know that you wanted it to be sand? I mean, there's something so guttural that I didn't even put together until like hearing you talk just now about like the actual sand on the shores. And then just the oral of the chains, and just like this, it's just so guttural, like the visuals and the sound. So like, I'm just curious about your process of how you like, have you always heard these things in your head, even when it was just in poem and text form? Like, what was the process to the visuals and the audio?
Yeah, I love you, Charles. I'm going to say that. Now everybody knows it. I'm hardcore in love with that person.
I love you.
You know, it's funny. I think in pictures. I think my friend Sue knows this. I think in pictures. So like if you say something to me, and you've probably seen me tonight as we go through, I will stutter. Or when I close my eyes, it's so that I can see my picture more clearly and do the translation. And as we were talking about what the visual would be, I wanted it to be something that represented so much of who we are as Black people, you know, the oral storytelling that's passed down and that is as old as dirt, you know, yes, that sand. And when we first hit the shores of this country, you know, there's so much in that sand. And then also something that would not take your focus away from the words, right? Because if this was a film, if you saw humans, you'd be watching the film, right? But this makes you, it just suspends you because you're like, what's the picture going to be next? And the only thing you have is your ears. You like really kind of, you know, like lean into what those words are. And it's like you're trying to put those pieces together. So there was all of those things that I considered in coming up with where it landed. So thanks, Charles. Now it's your turn to answer that other question. Yeah, you ain't fooling nobody.
No, I do. So yeah, like I mentioned at the top, that this piece started in 2017, and now there's the 2020 version. And I feel it's so interesting to me, Josie, what you actually just said. I know I'm bringing it back to you, but it's relevant to like what I want to share in the fact that like, so doing it for a second time, I was like, okay, I want to approach this differently. So there was much less text in this version because for me, it was this thing where it's like words aren't enough, right? We're in the streets, we're protesting, we're shouting, we're doing all the things, we're calling our Congress people. It feels like words aren't enough. So how can I like manifest this feeling in a new way? And for me, that came down to the movement. So there was much more of an emphasis on the movement in this piece of like, what is that feeling like? And looking at the set, how can you create that feeling of claustrophobia? Like literally what it feels like to like, feel like you cannot breathe without saying the words, I can't breathe, or it feels like I can't breathe, you know what I mean? And so this piece, this time around was an exploration of that. We had a great sound designer who I saw in your credits, Josie Sharat Patel, who is amazing. And he would literally like, he came into rehearsal one day and he like recorded my body sounds. So I like had a mic in my hand and he was just recording the sounds of my body. The sound of the heartbeat you hear is my actual heartbeat. So it's again, finding ways in the storytelling to like, when words are not enough, how can we get it across? Because that was the thing for me. It's like, well, I already did this 3 years ago. So like, it didn't click for whatever reason. Something is not clicking. And so, all that to say, to answer your question, I feel like it's been received really well. And the most surprising and heartwarming part to me has been Black folks reaching out to me and being like, how did you so perfectly get to what that feeling was? And it was important for me in making this is that I wanted it to be a love letter to the 6 lives that I talk about in the piece, to any Black people who watch this, because we have to deal with this every day. So I don't want to re-traumatize my brothers and sisters and non-binary siblings. You know what I mean? Like so again, finding that balance though, to like, for us to be seen, but for everybody else to get to work. Because we've been talking about it. We've been doing the work. As you've seen in these 3 pieces tonight, we've been having the conversations. And so how do we invite everyone else into the conversation? And then also spark them to action, to do something. So.
I want to comment on, you're amazing, Charles. You already know that. The thing that, exactly what you said, there's a lot of times where people believe that we don't have tenderness, and to see Charles hold us in his hands and take care of us. That's what I got. And a lot of times in my world, like I'm constantly trying to de-escalate masculinity and understand like what that is. And what I saw was, I mean, I have this all the time. Like I have a broken tail light, and my wife, my white wife, all the time is like, is it fixed? Is it on the to-do list? When are you going to do it? Is it now? And I'm like, I need to write my play. But that's right. I
Yeah.
know that's right. I could die. I know that. That's right. That's there. You know, it's always there. So it's yeah. So thank you for that. And then actually realizing that like it is horrific, but we like to be held as well. So thank you for that.
Some other positive comments, just so you know, part of the recording, the chat is recorded too, so it'll kind of be on the side, so you'll be able to, when you view this, you'll be able to see all the comments. I'm just kind of focusing on questions right now, although I do want to mention a comment from Ernesto, because this person hasn't been mentioned tonight. I grew up in Los Angeles, me too, Ernesto, and I remember, me too, in the 1992 Rodney King beating very, very well. There's still the burnt out shells of buildings in Los Angeles to this day. I thought that was kind of an important comment to make, just because, well, for me, it was the first time that I had experienced on the news any, you know, a killing of a Black person that was videoed and they were still innocent, the people who did it. Let's see, Daniela says at Vin, when and where can we find the movie? Oh, well, it's on YouTube. Also, it was gut-wrenching when Charles started listing the victims and their ages kept getting younger and younger. So Vin, how can we get to your video?
Yeah, we actually start shooting in March. And yeah, like we're right now, I mean, it's crazy, like to the point where Spike Lee knows about it. And like it's stupid. So yeah, it's to the point where trying to find little Melvin. That's my, it used to be my name. So yeah, we're in the search trying to find a 12-year-old boy.
Wow. Congratulations. I mean, that's a wonderful thing.
That's amazing, Vin.
Yeah.
I guess we're not going to be seeing you at writers group much longer, right? You're on your way.
Oh, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah.
Are there other questions people want to ask or in the chat, or turn off your mic? On your mic? Boy, I'm very dyslexic tonight.
Catherine's hand is up.
Hi there. Thank you so much. I'm not sure I can say this without crying. Vin, your story touched me very deeply. As a child who really struggled with not knowing how much people knew about my own personal background, both the family life and the lack of things, you know. Will people, when someone says, you know, do you only have one pair of pants? It feels like, how can I say, no, I've got two? You know what I mean? Yeah. And just the shoes, because I had new shoes too. And I remember someone saying to me, those are going to be so dirty. But thinking it was a major expense so that I could have those for outdoor school. And so for me, I just felt so deeply touched by this in just such a way, to have that connection with you. because I know, and you probably get this too, that the surprise, and yet also in my mind, I'm recognizing that in this space, for you to say that you grew up with poverty and violence, and for me to say the same thing, I recognize that in society, as you say it, people will nod their head and understand. And for me, it won't be the same thing because it will be more of a surprise, because they look at the outer shell and they just make assumptions. And for me to recognize the ability to walk through my life with the privilege that people assume that my youth was easy because they make assumptions. I think that it's just a very deep feeling for me, a very moving, because I feel so deeply connected to you in this moment.
Thank you.
And I just want to express that deep gratitude to you, Vin.
Thank you, my friend. And I appreciate you, and I validate your struggle. You know, I think I've learned this over the time that, like, I have run away from my stories for so long. And I cannot tell you until I got a therapist. And I looked at this lady and I was like, where have you been? And like, I was like, for the first time, I settled down. I was she was listening to me. She wasn't asking me questions, but what was happening, I started to shake. My like there was specific parts in my body that felt hot. And I started to realize that it was the trauma. It was where I was holding it. And knowing that it needed to be released, but the only way was through my writing. And I've had these amazing encounters before too, where people, they can see their struggle through my words. And I can tell you this, I am actually highly dyslexic, and I actually don't write at all. I only speak text my words because I'm so afraid of like just writing them. But I started to realize that first of all, I'm enough. Catherine, you're enough. And once you realize that, realize your container within that, the stories will come. And it's just kind of like, it takes maybe mine, it takes someone else to get you going, but you got a story to tell, and it's time to tell it.
Thank you, Vin. There's another comment in the chat. It says, it's for Vin. My 3 teens, it's from Amy. My 3 teens who went to outdoor school not too long ago all listened to your story prior to tonight with an attentiveness I rarely see from them. They recalled their own experiences with a new perspective, realizing maybe for the first time that not everyone has the same experiences. Coming from mom, they see it as preaching. I feel that. Listening to you made a real impact. Thank you for sharing. Thank you all for sharing. It's incredible. Does anyone have any other questions or anything they'd like to ask Josie, Vin, or Charles?
I have a question to ask you all. I mean, are there writers? Are there like, I know is this a theater company, or like, are you guys part of the theater? Like, I want to know, are there some stories that you guys are already trying to cultivate?
No, there are faculty members here. I don't, and some students, some theater students, some of our board members. We have, I think our President Cook is here. So it's a wide variety of people, but that's a great question. If anybody wants to speak to that. I try to write a little bit now and then.
I was gonna put it in the chat, but I think for a lot of us, you know, that aren't the writers and the artistic folks necessarily, at least like that want to claim we're good enough to be considered artistic folks. I think in some ways that's what we try to do, you know, in that educational space. Like I want to see my students be able to say, okay, I'm going to take this trauma, I'm going to make something positive of it, and I'm going to do all these other things. Or for me to kind of go, oh, I can see myself in that student. And so I want to get them to where I'm at or past where I'm at, right? It's sometimes I think that's where our kind of art is sitting from the instructional side, even though we aren't all theater people like Chris and Jim.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah,
a group of us this morning we have an educational focus area called Creative Arts, Communication, and Humanities. And a group of us, with Sue taking the lead, created something called EFA, or Educational Focus Area 101, which is a course designed to lead people into this area of the college. And I teach ceramics and art history. We have people in this area that teach philosophy, women's studies. And what we recognize about all of us is that we're all storytellers. And Sue Mock led a class this fall, and the theme of our EFA 101 class is storytelling. And so that's what Sue did with students this past fall.
Beautiful.
And I just want to say, I mean, I'll just say this moment, and people who on here who hear me in meetings, crow often about this, but just that where so many of our students come to us with stories that are not that different from what you all shared, and in terms of different kinds of trauma. Some of them trauma, some of it trauma on top of systemic racism. So all of, they come to us with all of it, and you're like, okay, well, you have to pass this test now and show up to here, and now all your classes are on Zoom, so figure that out. And now you get, and so they're carrying all the, and when what I found in my 25 years of teaching, if I could say one thing that is more so important in my philosophy is that students just want to be seen. They just want to come and say, oh my God, let me say, I'm so sick of this shit, but I want to get through school because I want my life to be better. Yeah. And that it is in the humanities where students are allowed to get it out. And I think that so much of it is in danger right now of being taken away. Yeah. And if we take this humanities away, we are in big, big trouble. So I'm just going to throw that out there right now. Because, and so I just thank you guys so much for your craft and your stories and your willingness to be vulnerable, because it's important for our students to see that as well.
Absolutely. We do have another question in the chat. It is for everyone. Do you have more? Do you have more work that you're able to share?
Yes.
And how do we get to it? I guess would be a follow-up question.
There is, and I'll have to find the link to send to you. There's actually something coming out that's also part of Artist Rep DNA Oxygen project called See Me. Vin and I were writers on that. There is, oh golly, what else? And it actually kind of leads into a comment I was going to make before when we were talking about people in the work and the art, is that I want, and I know you all do this, but encourage your students and the people you come in to make the art that they need to make. I have so much respect for Vin and Charles and how personal their work is. I don't know if I'm that brave yet. But when you see the other things that I write, you understand who I am. I'm always writing something magical, and that's not because I don't believe in reality. But one of my favorite quotes that I'm about to hack up is by Neil Gaiman, where he says he loves fairy tales not because there are dragons, but because they can be defeated. And so I write fairy tales because I believe that there is always a way to make something better. And no matter what that is, we're going to come to it. So I feel like everything you can put your hands on, that is art, and that you don't consider art, that's how you tell your stories. So I just wanted to put that out there as well, because until you can be brave enough to pick through the trauma, tell the story that you want to see, create the world where you want to be. So that's something that I wanted to say.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
I don't know if this is close to what you were talking about, Sue, but like when I was a kid too, one of the things like, there's in Portland, there's Matt Dishman, like his community center. The community centers were so important to me because most of the time I didn't say a word, but I just needed to be there.
Yeah.
Like, and so, and the same for school, like to have a place so I can just not deal with what I'm dealing outside. I can just take my backpack off and just be present meant a lot. And eventually I started to talk. I started to get to know who was there. I started to actually open up and say, oh, we might have something in common. But it took that like trust to have that place for me to just be, and that was really important for me in my like cultivating myself. So I think that's important what you guys are doing and having those spaces for us. Maybe they might not create something, but I'll tell you, they might have the time to just be present. And in this life, it's constantly busy.
Yeah, we need to fight, but we also need to rest.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Vin.
So that's so right. Just being, and that's why it's going to be so nice when we're all going to be able to be back together again. Yeah. Is there anything else? Wait, is there something else in the chat that we didn't see? Oh, Alice. Jen, you want to take that one? And then.
Sure, it's not a question. There are a couple lovely comments. One is from Betsy. She's not at Clackamas Community College, but she is at another college where she teaches theater and she directs. Helping students to move beyond using other people's words, to be able to use their own words is a real challenge, but watching and hearing your stories can give them courage to share their own words. So thank you for that. And then Alice Lewis is saying, I teach public speaking, which is required as part of many programs. And she fosters students' voices and stories. The power of what you share, the spoken word, is undeniable. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing. I'm very aware of how difficult it is to stand up and speak your truth. Thank you, all three of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.